almost 9,000 views. And then on Android, 6,500. So it's almost 50-50. And it's important that we make sure that our website is easily read on a mobile device because they do look different than the main page that you see on your desktop. So I just wanted to provide those analytics to show the importance of our website. Down the road, I'll provide different analytics on other platforms that we use. But this is a key platform, and I just really wanted to let you know the importance of our city website, and it is a team that makes this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for the analytics report. And the next up is the mayor's comments, and I am going to read a proclamation, which Memorial Day will happen before our next meeting, and I always like to read proclamations that are going to happen in between. The City of Marshfield, Wisconsin proclamation, observation of Memorial Day. Whereas Memorial Day was first observed in 1868, and it was established to honor those who gave their lives in the Civil War. Since then, each year in May, Americans pause to observe Memorial Day, a special day and national holiday since 1971, set aside to remember with dignity. And whereas the day of Monday, May 26th, has been set aside to honor the veterans who fought and died for our country and help preserve the freedoms and rights guaranteed to all people under the U.S. Constitution. And whereas in Memorial Day, it is of utmost importance to hold it in high regard the memories of our friends and family members who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and to remember the significant contributions they made to enhance our lives. And whereas we pray for peace throughout the world, remembering all that is gained and all that is lost during times of war. And now therefore be it resolved, I, Lois T. Strake, Mayor of the City of Marshfield, do proclaim Monday, May 26, 2025, Memorial Day, and I urge our citizens to observe this day with fitting dignity and appropriate thought of our fallen heroes. Please honor us with your presence on Monday, May 26th for the Memorial Day Parade at 9:30 along St. Joseph's Avenue in Marshfield. The parade, a symbol of our collective pride and gratitude, will be followed by a solemn at Hillside Cemetery at 10 a.m. to pay homage to the veterans who fought and died for our country. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and seal this May 26th, 2025, Lois T. Strake, Mayor. Thank you. Item H, council comments. Seeing no council comments, city administrators update.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things for tonight. First one, just an opportunity for our residents that we get periodically, but it's worth noting for the public as well. But the program called Clean Sweep, that's where the county will take certain agricultural, household, different types of waste and stuff like that, chemicals that are difficult to get rid of. And we'll be having a clean sweep coming here on Saturday, May 31st from 8 till noon. It'll be held at the Ag Research Station. So if you got an opportunity or looking for an opportunity to get rid of some things that are hard to dispose of in the proper way, you can check the Wood County website, and you may see it other places. But again, Saturday, May 31st from 8 to noon at the Marshfield Agricultural Research Station for Clean Sweep. The other thing I want to note for tonight, we've been trying to schedule strategic planning meetings for the council and having a little difficulty. Our consultant had recommended the early part of summer coming up after the elections to make sure that any new elected officials had a chance to get a little bit acclimated to their position. We'd floated 2 days, June 14th and 28th, 2 Saturdays in the month of June. It would be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. type of sessions. However, we have not gotten a quorum for those dates at all, not for either one of them. And some people have noted the conflicts that come up you would expect during the summer with vacations, family activities, and just an unknown schedule. So I did talk to the consultant today, Daniel Foth, and he suggested maybe we want to look at late summer, like later August into September. He understands that this body would really like to have a good strategic plan coming together prior to consideration of the 2026 budget. But he said, I leave it to you, Steve, and the mayor and council as to whether or not you think you can get a quorum for any other dates prior to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email out to everybody. I ask you to please respond as best you can in the next day or two and give me an idea where you're thinking as far as whether that's a possibility yet in the summer or whether you want to look at the early fall of 2025. And then I'm going to put this on the agenda for 2 weeks from tonight, May 27th, at which time we're hopefully going to be able to have a discussion. It'll be an action item to try and nail down the dates of these special meetings. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Steve. Item J, reports from commissions, boards, and committees. Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to remove Kate.
Oh, actually, consent agenda is
You're
next up.
correct.
Yep.
You're correct.
That's quite all right.
Yep.
Nope, no problem. Once again, reports from commissions, boards, and committees. Seeing none, moving on to item K, consent agenda, meeting minutes and reports. We have a motion by Alderman Fire, second by Alderman Varsho. Now Alderman O'Reilly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to remove item K11A, the police department, and K11B, the funding for the training facility for the fire department EMS. For discussion.
Anybody else? We'll vote on the rest of the consent agenda. All those in favor? Please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
Those motions pass. Now we'll go on to item 11, Board of Public Works, approval proposal for the engineering services for the Wildwood Plaza renovation project and authorize execute of the contract. Mr. O'Reilly?
Thank you. This was driven by the constituent that spoke at the public comment portion earlier. I just wanted to maybe suggest staff come forward, do a quick synopsis of cost, where the funding comes from, any history on it that could potentially spark any kind of discussion here. And then, or that was on the police department. The second item would be somewhat the same for the training facility. And that one, I would also like to have in the discussion, or I'm sorry, the police department had, basically, we had a CIP that was about 800,000 on this portion, and I would like to discuss what happens with that additional, what would be about 300,000, I believe, that we were under budget for it, and how that's handled. And that was, I don't care which staff feels most comfortable coming up, but
Maybe let's
everybody
take, I
jump
see
in line
Jody
at
getting
once.
up. Go ahead, Jody. Between the police chief, the acting public works director, and the finance director, they may be able to answer some of those questions.
Okay. As far as the funding, and Jennifer, obviously, if I misspeak, just correct me on it, but that's done, through the CIP. If you remember correctly, this project started about 3 years ago, and we've been sifting through all of the details to make sure that we're bringing the best foot forward. I do believe that we can check all the boxes for the police department with this renovation, and we're going to be able to do it for millions of dollars less than it would take for a new building. If I understand the finance part of it, Jennifer, I think that we would just borrow less because we would not. Jennifer's going to tell me what we're going to do.
There is an expectation that there will be construction engineering costs. Those have not been bid out. So that remaining money would be applied to the full engineering costs. This is design, then we'll have construction, and then somebody has to monitor that construction. That piece of it has not gone out for bid yet. So right now we won't say we have excess money for this phase of the project.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Jody, could I?
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the concerns raised is whether or not this is going to really meet the needs of your department. Could you just address how you see that?
Well, we did do a study back in the 2019 area. And what that study looked at is properties, whether they were occupied or not occupied in the city, that would serve the needs of our police department. One of, if not the top property, was actually about 500 feet north of where this building is located. I don't know where the other properties were. I don't recall. But as far as the location, I don't have any concerns. The citizen's absolutely right. There was the scores from ADCI when they did the study on the current facility was a lot of Cs and Ds, which we would expect from a building that was built in 1996. We know that we need to do the HVAC system. The roof needs to be replaced. It's the original roof. The parking lot needs to be replaced, but a lot of that will be done in the design when we add on a garage or whatever portion that we add to get the square footage that we need for the building. I'm very adamant that we're not going to put lipstick on a pig, so to speak, and we're going to make this building right.
Thank you.
Okay.
For the training center facility, I can kind of go over the overall view of the plan.
Okay, excuse me, Everett.
Oh, sorry.
One item at
Okay, yes, now we have to discuss council as to one item at a time. I see Natasha has a motion. And your motion, Natasha, is?
My motion is to approve the proposal for the architectural engineering services for the Wildwood Plaza renovation project
And Mike, you second
and
that?
authorize the execution of the contract.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
That motion passes. And now, Everett.
I apologize for getting out of order
No,
here.
no, that's
Sorry
quite all
about
right.
that.
No, I should have jumped in quicker. I
No
apologize.
problem. I guess I'll give you the overall background of this. This was a training center, or the comprehensive request for proposal was for a training center master plan. And what this is to do is to look at a feasibility study of the site that we currently have and look at what we can do for that site or whether we need to do something different for that site. What this will support is fire training, EMS training, all of our specialty rescues, which is going to be hazardous materials, confined space, high angle rescue, and also some of our support facilities we'd be looking at for the future. This is a joint venture between Mid-State Technical College and the Marshfield Fire Department. So there are some requests here in the classroom, also training, kind of a training or storage bay, and then looking at bathrooms for that facility site to make sure that we can render that. Some of the things that we were looking at in doing this for the selection committee was looking at the criteria for that committee. The criteria we were looking at was the project understanding and technical approach, the experience with the fire service training center facilities, project schedule and delivery capabilities, qualification of key team members, familiarity with city processes, and the value of proposed services and the fee structure that would be involved in that as well. So when we looked at all 5 of the different ones that came in, as far as the different RFPs that were there, we looked at all of those approaches from that. And the one that we came up with was Short, Elliott, and Hendricks. That company had deep experience in fire training center facilities, meaning they actually look at NFPA 1402. 1402 is the design and construction of training center facilities, and they've got some experience in that area. The ones that they cited were Oshkosh, Kenosha, St. Cloud, Watertown, and Maplewood, where they've actually done training center facilities, and we felt that they really had a good rendition for the background of that. They also have a firefighter-focused design team. SEH's team included licensed architects, planners, and engineers, some of who are also firefighters. So I think that we'd have a very good meeting and discussion on what the training center should look like. And then some of the other things that they had was a strong local and regional tie. When we look at the regional tie that they have, one thing that could be noted is Bryce Hembrook does work for the city on a part-time basis. And as part of this design team, and we'll be looking at it from the planning standpoint. One thing that could be is we could actually turn that into a strength. One thing we don't have to do is get him up to speed. He actually understands what our planning is for the long-term goals of the city of Marshfield. And I think that's going to be a big piece in this overall puzzle of what we put together for this. And then we're looking at the comprehensive project approach, looking at what this is going to be, not just for today, but for the long-term process of this project. How long is it going to go? I mean, we're looking to make this something that's going to be able to facilitate not only our project, but also Mid-State Technical College and surrounding departments and facilities. Why would we want to bring in the surrounding departments? We've got a lot of MABUS contracts that are out there, mutual aid box alarm system. And having them on board with us allows us to train with them on a more recent or a more actively with them on a training capability. One fire that we just recently had was at Forte over the weekend on Sunday, Mother's Day. And we brought in 4 different facilities that came in with that one. having that ability, we identified a couple needs there, which would be truck training and some of the other things that we could utilize in that. This is a perfect opportunity to mesh those things together and make sure that training can come together on one field ground. And we believe the training center can do that for us. The other thing that they had is they had a very competitive fee for SEH. They had a proposed and fixed cost not to exceed $26,750 for the full project scope. When we looked at some of the other ones, we had one as high as $250,000, and the next closest one to this one was $68,000. We felt that those were really out of whack as far as what we were looking to do for the scope in the project. We, being Josh Morth and myself, had no one call us or contact us about those, so we felt they just didn't understand the scope of the project, and at least the two highest bids. The other three bids we put together, and we were able to look at those and say, these are really very comparable. What it really came down to is how many architects they were bringing to the table, how many engineers they were bringing to the table, and that's where we came up with a cost-effective plan utilizing SEH as the best one at $26,750. We think that we can reutilize those funds, the additional funds, into that scope of the project and not have to utilize it for something else. We can use it for another area. The last thing I'd like to just say is that the project is actually going to be fully funded right now. We have a project account. Basically, it's a 50-50 match between Mid-State Technical College and Marshfield Fire and Rescue Department, or the city of Marshfield, I apologize. What that 50-50 match really comes out to is it comes out to $25,000 from Mid-State Technical College, and then $18,750 from the general account, $6,250 from the EMS enterprise account. So that really is a fee-based account. So really only $18,750 is coming from the tax levy on that particular part each and every year. Some of the things we'll be looking for in the future is grants. We're going to be looking at local organizations and also federal support, maybe congressional funding or spending is a big part of this project. I had a chance to meet with Mid-State Technical College prior to this meeting and really kind of looked at the long-term planning for this project and felt we really had some good spots there. I've also talked to Lexipol, which is our grant writer, and they feel like there's a lot of good spots where we could move for grant funding. We could really utilize some of that funding and not have to take this off the levy in any shape or form. So there's a lot of leverage for that. And really the bigger the return on investment in this overall project is truly bringing it back to the training that we're going to be able to get and supervise for our firefighters. That return on investment is making sure those firefighters are trained. So when someone has their worst day, we can be at our best. That's all I got. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Everett. We have a motion on the floor by Alderman Tompkins, and Alderman Tompkins, your motion is?
My motion is to approve for the professional services for the development of the Fire Training Center Master Plan.
We have a second by Alderman Varsho, and you are second in agreement. And Alderman Tompkins, you have a comment, question?
It was just a question, so I'm so sorry. You have to go back up. I seem to remember that you gave us a presentation a while ago where you talked about how communities get a certain standard. They get almost like a report card. And if the components of that report card were high enough, it actually would lower our insurance rates because we would have a good fire response. And I remember during that presentation that you had said one of the areas, because we were talking about should we get more personnel? And if we brought that up, that brought us closer to that level. But you had said the training center is what's dragging us down. So do you feel like when this whole project is done, do you feel like we'll get enough on that report card to potentially affect our insurance rates, or?
I really appreciate the question. That's actually a good observation. And what you're talking about, insurance service office is the one that's kind of our report card for the city. Right now, we're currently at a 3.2. This is an area that comes out of community risk. It's about a 10-point comparison in the overall scheme, and it's actually extra points on top. 40% comes from the water, 50% comes from the fire department, and the last 10% is communication, and then we have 15% that's on top of that, which is our community risk reduction, and that's where that kind of comes in. So that's community risk reduction. It's about 10 points in that overall scheme. I don't know that that'd be enough to move the dial as far as moving us to a 2. It certainly could, but I wouldn't want to propose that that's the case and then we wouldn't follow through with that. What I have heard from the ISO personnel when they've come and talked to us is if we move from a 3.2 to a 2, you can see about a 10% savings for your industrial and your commercial properties. When it comes to residential, they're not going to feel quite as much. They will feel a little bit of a savings, but those bigger ones are going to be, especially industrial, because they utilize all the resources. So there would be some percentage increase there. And this will definitely move us in the right direction, but I wouldn't want to go so far as to say it's going to drop us a whole level. But thank you for the question. It's a great question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please vote.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Mr. Weigel abstains, so the vote passes. Thank you very much. And item L, we've done, so we'll move on to item M, presentation. Boys and Girls Club presented by Danielle Belsky and Katie Zaleski. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Danielle Belsky. I'm the CEO for the Boys and Girls Club Portage County.
And I'm Katie Zaleski, and I'm on the advisory board here in Marshfield for the Boys and Girls County of Marshfield. Okay. So we just wanted to start with a little history about Boys and Girls Clubs. So the Boys and Girls Club of Marshfield started a little over a year ago, well, quite a few years ago, actually. Lots of conversations about the lack of childcare here in Marshfield. And specifically for our young, but also our tweens and teen age groups. And so Mackey here in Marshfield formed a steering committee to talk about potential solutions. And the Boys and Girls Club was one of those top solutions that came forward. We formed an advisory committee. There were conversations between multiple Boys and Girls Clubs, including Portage County, Rapids, Marathon, and Portage County really rose to the top, having replicated kind of this model in other communities. So they cover all of Portage County, so not just Stevens Point and Plover, but also Almond, Bancroft, Rosholt, I'm going to forget, Junction City, Amherst. So they cover all of Portage County. So they've really successfully expanded into other communities. And that's really one of the requirements of Boys and Girls Club of America, is that if we started a new one, we would partner with an existing club. And so for the past year, we've been having lots of conversations around what would it look like to bring a Boys and Girls Club to Marshfield. So we're going to talk more about that with you.
So about the Boys and Girls Club. You hear Boys and Girls Club, Boys and Girls Club. What is a Boys and Girls Club? So truthfully, a Boys and Girls Club is an out of school time place for kids to go, especially when both parents or single parents are working. You know, after school, kids need a safe place to go and a structured environment to go. So our mission statement at the Boys and Girls Club is really to inspire and empower our youth to realize their full potential. And our vision, especially here in Marshfield, what we're hoping to bring, and we will because we're going to be opening a site in summer, which we'll get more information in a little bit here. But we really want to provide a world-class club experience that assures success is within reach of every young person we serve. Oh, didn't know who was doing that. So us. Yes, I snort. Sorry. We can just laugh at that. Got it from my mom. So us as an organization, we really embed ourselves in our values, which love to have a good acronym when displaying our values. So it is for FIRST. So fun is the biggest thing that we want to make sure kids are having when they're coming to our program. Making sure that whatever they do, they want to do it. And that's something that really happens with our choice-based programming, which we'll be talking about our programs in the next slide. But making sure that the kids want to be there, because when kids don't want to be there, they're not fun kids to be with, right? We want happy kids. We also want to make sure it's an inclusive environment. So all kids, regardless of their background, are able to attend. And that's something that is really demonstrated in our fee structure. So for this summer, we'll be opening a site at Grant Elementary. And for a child to attend that program this summer, it would be $100 for the entire summer for no matter how many days they attend. If that child is on the free or reduced price lunch program at school, they pay $10. And so that's where we're really talking about how do we bring in that inclusivity for all kids. We're also very responsive. So we have worked very closely with the city of Stevens Point, the school district of Marshfield, also to make sure we're being responsive. What does the community need? And that's something that you heard from Katie, is that we're finding that there was a call to action. And that's where we came in and said, how do we help provide a fun, safe place for these kids to belong? So we want to make sure when there's other needs that are coming up in our community down the road, how can we partner together and collaborate? A big key piece, of course, is with any kids is you need safety, right? We need that safe environment where they feel that sense of belonging, where parents are trusting us with their most prized possession. So we ensure that we are meeting all safety standards. Not only are ones provided from Boys and Girls Club of America that we have to have membership requirements, but also local safety requirements as well. And trustworthy. This is something that's embedded not only between our parents and the kids that we work with, but within our staff and within our key stakeholders, is we want to make sure that you guys trust us. And that's why we're really excited to have the next steps. And here's just a short video about what does a club look like.
Every morning, staff at 10 club sites across Portage County get ready for the day, all guided by the same mission: to inspire and empower our youth to realize their full potential.
When the first club opened over 20 years ago, it began with the little things that often mean the most.
A safe place to go, caring mentors who listen, and a healthy meal youth can count on.
Over 15,000 youth have gotten their start at a Boys and Girls Club in Portage County.
Through the years, we've grown with centers, school sites, and have changed the lives of so many youth through our Guided Pathways to Success Center.
The world has changed a lot in the past 20 years, so we have changed too.
We've expanded to sports leagues, social emotional learning programs, workforce development, and so much more.
Youth need us now more than ever.
Because childhood looks different these days.
But one thing hasn't changed. We do whatever it takes to see young people thrive.
And we won't rest until all the youth of Portage County have the opportunity to achieve a great future.
So staff across Portage County will prepare to inspire our youth again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that.
Okay. As a part of the advisory board, this information is really why it's so important, I think, from a council for you to know that, but also why there's such a passionate advisory board involved. So when you look at the needs in our Marshfield community, if any of you have fought to find childcare recently or have friends, family members looking for childcare, wait lists and getting after-school childcare is a battle. The YMCA program currently fills up within hours of registration. Depending on what school you're at, you might be camping out in the morning, waiting for them to open up registration at their Y programs. And, we've gotten multiple questions on what does this look like? And there's been lots of conversations between the advisory board as well as the Marshfield Area YMCA that even with bringing a Boys and Girls Club to Marshfield, the need is still going to be there. So it's not going to impact the organizations that currently provide childcare, but this is really going to partner with them so that we can really serve more kids. When you look at the Marshfield community, I'm sure you've all, as the council, talked about this, but Marshfield has a 41% ALICE report rate, meaning that 41% of our working families struggle to make ends meet. And so when you think about what Boys and Girls Club brings with the $10 for those that receive free and reduced lunches, or just even $100 for the summer for childcare, that is a huge game changer for those 41% of those families. And, in this, there was a study done, and 88% of those that responded said that they felt that there was a need and support for the Boys and Girls Club. So there was a lot of work prior to having this come to fruition. And then mostly, as Danielle said, that outreach, the positive outreach that Danielle's going to talk about, those social and emotional learning, that academic support, the leadership programs, the STEM programs, which Danielle will talk to you in more details. Having that for our youth here in Marshfield as a mother and as a professional who has those conversations with our team members every day, this type of resource is just, a game changer for them.
So some of those programs that we're talking about is what you can see is we make sure that all of the programs we do, we call it Fun with a Purpose, high yield learning activities. And so we have youth development professionals who are paid staff, paid part-time staff, who are developing these types of programs that you're seeing in front of you. So Cooking Club is the biggest one. My favorite was when I walked into the kitchen one day and club members were making black bean brownies. I was like, what are you doing? Seriously? And the kids were like, it's the healthy brownie, Miss Danielle. And I'm like, okay, whatever you got to do. But we're doing that type of stuff, right? What is that fun things where kids are learning how to eat more healthier brownies, or putting a little spinach in a smoothie is not going to hurt you. So healthy meals, Cooking Club, Youth Force is our workforce development programming. So that's something that's really new that is starting to pick up in boys and girls clubs across the nation, is really ensuring that the kids are getting the skills they need to enter into the workforce. So a lot of the kids, when they graduate high school, majority, if not, especially in Stevens Point, stay in Stevens Point. So how are we equipping them to make them ready for the workforce to support us? We provide homework help. Whenever the kids after school, we give them a snack right away and or meal, and then they get their homework time. So this is where they can get their 20 minutes of reading done or their worksheets, whatever needs be. Club Creates is our art programming. So anything from, we'll have visiting artists that come in, from skills and crafts to even acrylics. We do a variety of programming in the arts. Sports and recreation, that's a huge one, especially we call it triple play at the organization. That is anytime the kids are playing those outdoor recreation games between soccer, dodgeball, spider dodgeball is a big one, basketball. We've even started pickleball a little bit with the kids, starting to pick up more and more. So character development is another key program that we do, and we embed this within our programs, is we want to make sure the youth build and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to make sure that they have those healthy identities and manage their emotions and achieve their goals. And so, for instance, one program that is near and dear to my heart is our Youth of the Month program. So every kid at every club site each month, they pick a Youth of the Month, which is their star student, and they get their picture on the board. And then annually, we do a BGC Awards night. And so every night, it's our red carpet Oscars event, and every kid across all of those club sites that you saw come together, and they all get their own trophy, and they get their red carpet moment of walking up on stage. And so having kids getting recognized for all types of reasons, not only just sports, but just being a good human, is key for these kids. STEAM Club, which is our science, technology, engineering, and arts and math programming. This is something really fun for the kids. They love doing hands-on activities. And then leadership and service, especially with our teen and tween programming. We have what is called a Keystone programming, which that is your very much similar to like a Key Club or National Honor Society, but the Boys and Girls Club version of this. And so there is opportunities also with Boys and Girls Club America where they can go to a Keystone conference and meet peers from other organizations on how they are making an impact and a difference, not only in their Boys and Girls Club, but they're in their community. So we're excited this summer. We're actually taking a group of teens to the National Keystone Conference in Chicago. So very excited about that one.
So really, when we look at how the Boys and Girls Club is going to continue to address those needs in Marshfield, as we've referenced a few times, it really does provide that affordable after-school care. We're really looking at, we looked at both in school, as well as we're still researching and looking at having a standalone site. But we will have a Boys and Girls Club that is starting this summer, June 16th, at our grant school. So it will wrap around from summer school care and already be providing that resource to our families. So for any families that signed up for summer school, they received an email and can sign up for the Boys and Girls Club for their kids to have after school care starting at noon when summer school ends till 5:30. And so that's been really exciting to, after a year of having those conversations, really see this to come to fruition and be available already to our kids this summer. And then starting in the fall for next school year, that will transition to the Lincoln School location and be able to continue to provide that care for our kids in the school district at that Lincoln School, with the end game and the goal really to have a standalone site and serve a lot more kids. Really addressing that mental health support, having all of the programs that Danielle just discussed, really looking at being able to support our kids and our down the road, our tweens and teens, having those mentors, having those programmings to build that confidence is going to really be critical to our Marshfield area. And then, as I talked about earlier, really supporting those families that fall in that ALICE group and providing a safe program that provides exceptional education and that support that our kids need.
So frequently asked questions. Oh, I know there we go. So what's next for Boys and Girls Club? So just by a show of hands, curiosity, how many of you guys kind of heard about us or heard maybe some rumors going on in the community? So, okay, I hope it's all good things. So that is something that we get a lot of comments of, what's Boys and Girls Club? I heard this is going on or whatnot. But really, we're in this place of we wanted to open a school site. Our advisory committee is comprised of amazing individuals, and we're very passionate. And one of the biggest things is we wanted to get a club site now. And that's when we started working very closely with the school district to open a club site this summer. So that is especially when opening a Boys and Girls Club, to make sure it's sustainable and we can supported in our community. School sites are naturally the best fit to start and really test the waters, not only where is the need, but even staffing capacity. So we will have our initial program launch this summer. We're also looking to find that standalone location, because once we can find that standalone, that's when we can expand to that teen and tween population. Teens don't want to go stay at their school after school and hang out and do programs. They want a place that they belong. And that's something that's really amazing at organizations, because when we have that standalone facility and a dedicated place for those kids, they vote with their feet. You know you're being successful by the sheer amount of kids that are starting to come in. And our Burrard Center in Stevens Point, just a glimpse of how many kids we serve in an after school day. During the school year, we can get up to 150 kids a night. That is your 1st through 12th grade population. And then especially in summer, we've hit 200 kids a day where they're coming to the program. And so this summer, aiming to hit 100 kids that we can serve and then continue and relocate from Grant Elementary to Lincoln Elementary. And so one of the biggest question we get also is, why Lincoln, right? When having discussions between the school district, the YMCA, to really figure out where is the best place starting position, Lincoln was determined as the best start for us. So right now, we're really developing our community engagement and fundraising and working with local leaders, businesses, and donors, just to even bring community awareness. So that is something right now. We are entered into a $1 million operational campaign for 2 years of funding for a school site location. So by generous donation, John and Annette Vandehay have donated $500,000 and looking for the community to match that. Proud and very excited to say right now we're at 85% and we see the goal line. We're excited to finish strong, and especially as we open up this summer. So I think the next slide might actually be the one where, frequently asked questions. The last one's where it shows you how to donate, just so you know. Don't forget, I put that in there for you guys. So these are just some questions that we get is, yes, we are working with the school district on providing transportation. Obviously at Lincoln Elementary, we'll serve those Lincoln students. But when we find that standalone location, that's something we'll partner with them on. Can I register now? Right now, registration is open to serve students who are attending summer school. We're about almost 51 kids have enrolled and looking for 100 spots. So do it ASAP before those spots fill up, and you can go to the Boys and Girls Club's website to get into the parent portal. We talked a little bit about, we talked about the cost of what is becoming a club member. The same between the $100 for the summer, that $100 is also during the school year. That fee doesn't change. So why is Boys and Girls Club leading this project? Katie touched on this a little bit, but really we found that we had some key supporters on our board of directors. And at that time, when having discussions with our counterparts in Marathon County and Southern Wood County, it was determined that Portage County was in the best position to open this club site. And as you can hear from Katie, is we've opened a number of successful club sites across Portage County, especially in our rural locations. So here are some of our partners who are helping us reach that 85%, and we'd love to see all of your guys' names up there. So the next slide will show you that QR code, and then we are hoping to get more into the community in the next couple of weeks. And if there is ever opportunities that you would want us to present, please reach out. We're definitely open to bringing it. We want to get the word out in our community. But I don't know, can people ask questions when we do a presentation?
Certainly.
Okay.
Alderman Tompkins?
This is a comment. I just want to say thank you. Quality childcare is really hard to find, but affordable quality childcare is almost impossible to find. So for all of the businesses and organizations that actually utilize workers, this is really, really important for our city. So thank you. I have been that mom trying to find childcare while I work in the summer. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the council? Seeing none, thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Excited for this to start up. And the date again is June
16th.
Thank you.
And then I'll just leave some, we have our case statements. I'll leave some on the table if you would like to
Perfect.
take them on your way out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next item and presentation update on the city's business and industrial parks, presented by Sierra Sturford Herfin. Okay, I want you to tell me how to pronounce your last name for sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sierra Starner Heffron.
Thank you.
And I am the new Business Development Director with Mackey.
Welcome to Marshfield's
We're getting a little ahead. So we have this video I'd like to show at the end. There we go. All right. So before I get started, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Karen Olson, my predecessor at Mackey. Oh, nice. She has been there for over 20 years. Many of you know her and have worked with her, I'm sure. So she is a visionary and a leader in economic development. And I just wanted to thank her for her mentorship to me and her kind of guiding me on my path. But just as somebody who, sees what is, she doesn't just see what is, but what can be. And so I think that's really a transformative thing to have as an economic development specialist. And she really, she is big shoes to fill. So I just want to thank her for her work. And most of this is kind of based on her work that she's done through the years, and Mackey and the city have worked together. So I'm not going to take credit for any of this. Most of this is stuff that Karen has spearheaded and has been working on for years. And, countless businesses she's opened and seen expanded. So really just want to thank her for that. And then this can be just real quick. So this was brought to the council, had an interest in an overview of the business and industrial parks. So kind of an idea of what vacant land we have and what kind of existing businesses are surrounding there. am I controlling this or? Oh. That one's not showing. Well, sorry. Okay. A quick slide was to orient where we're talking about. These business and industrial parks are on the south side of the city, south and east side. So there was a map of the TIDs in the city, but we can just skip on to the first business park we've had. So this is like the first business park in the state. I think this was created in 1976. So this is the Marshfield Air Business Park. And as you can see, we've got prevention genetics, we've got the animal shelter. Right now, there's not very much land available. We've got one vacant lot and then 2 buildings that are for sale. So not much there. Yeah. So ideal for commercial, medical, biohealth, biotech, that kind of thing would be a good fit for that. So that's something we'll market for those existing available sites. And on to Norwood. So what's important to note here is Norwood is privately owned. So there's about 60 acres here in total. About 19, maybe less than, is it 19 or 18? Less than 18 acres are available. So it sounds like there's some pending projects in the works. So again, not very much land available here. And zoned industrial, ideal for manufacturing, industrial, and we'll continue. And one of the things that in my position is a key aspect is to go out and meet with the businesses. So one of the businesses we met with was Molded Dimensions, and I just wanted to give a quick highlight of their business, since it is a really cool business that they can pretty much make anything with urethane. So it's really good for anything that is really repetitive and abrasive. Urethane is better than metal in a lot of those uses. So just a cool thing that Marshfield has in its own backyard. And then moving on, we've got Mill Creek. So this is a lot more land available. We've got Prevention Genetics is kind of the one of the main anchors. Also Weinbrenner Shoes. So if you haven't been out there to check out the new construction, I highly recommend it. It's really coming along. It looks really good. Otherwise, a lot of land to develop. So these really are about 90 acres. And the lots are easily modified. So they can be kind of put in any kind of configuration that we're seeing a need for or a request for. So an ideal place for light manufacturing, labs, headquarters, offices. And yeah, it's a little bit more stricter covenants in how the outside looks. So more ideal for a headquarters, businessy kind of, officey kind of things, just due to landscaping and the outdoor storage kind of restrictions. And then Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is the biggest lots that we have available. So the video we're going to see tonight, Tom created. Karen kind of spearheaded that effort as well. But so this is the biggest site we've got. And some of the existing businesses, I mean, run the gamut. We've got construction, the research, ag research, movers, the packing company, residential insulation products. And then our newest is the next gen agronomy. So they just did a groundbreaking last month. So They'll be new to the area and a perfect fit, really. So ideally, we're looking for food and beverage to go in this area, wood products, metal manufacturing, biotech, biohealth. Those are kind of the key things that we're looking for. And these are brought to, these are recommendations from the site selectors that put together the certified site. So they are kind of recommendations based on the workforce that we have locally, the land, things like that. So it's not, just our thoughts on what needs to go there. And just another look at the site and what we've got there. Like I said, this was getting the site certified was a long process. And so the council probably knows all about that. So I won't go into that. But another thing, Karen kind of got moving. So we will take the video that Tom created and market that. We have our websites. Synergy is the Central Wisconsin Alliance for Economic Development, and that will market the site. So we're working together with the city, Mackey, Synergy. We'll all be looking to get this out there, get the word out there that we have this site available and see what kind of interest we get. And just kind of food for thought on the request for information that we've gotten so far. So looking back in 2024, we got about 14 requests for information. 8 of those were looking for an existing building. So that's something that could potentially lead to maybe a spec building. If that's something that developers, city want to look into further, there's definite interest in a building already existing on the site, at least 50,000 square feet is kind of what they're looking for. So yeah, I think we can watch the video now. Oh, got that. And just to give you more of a idea of where it is and what went into the site.
Yellowstone Industrial Park, a cornerstone for innovation, opportunity, and growth. Strategically located in the heart of Wisconsin, this development-ready site is poised to transform visions into reality. Certified by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation's Yellowstone's 123-acre industrial park offers businesses a future-ready location with great potential. This prestigious designation ensures that the site meets rigorous standards and is shovel-ready, saving time and money when selecting a site. To become certified, Yellowstone Industrial Park and program officials completed due diligence studies, including a wetlands report, a geotechnical report, an endangered resources review, and archaeological, architectural, and historical reviews. A Phase 1 environmental site assessment has also been completed. The certification removes many ambiguities, pitfalls, and delays that can confront developers during the siting and planning process. Located at the crossroads of major transportation networks, the park provides seamless connectivity to markets across the Midwest and beyond. Its strategic location makes it ideal for manufacturing, logistics, food and beverage distribution, research and genetics, wood production, and agriculture.
We're very fortunate to work over time with the UW Extension to purchase 123 acres directly adjacent to Yellowstone Industrial Park. That location was perfect. It's right next to the industrial park and easy to add on. We're able to incorporate it into TIF District 12. That offers incentive opportunities for companies, and it just worked out perfectly for us to make that the location of the new acreage.
Marshfield's rural landscape allows our agriculture industry to play a pivotal role. Marshfield's proximity to agricultural lands and its skilled workforce make it an ideal location for agricultural businesses, from dairy farming and cheese plants to agricultural research and development. The site is within minutes of US Highway 10, a 4-lane highway that connects to I-39, heading up to the Northwoods of Wisconsin in less than a half hour, or traveling south down Madison and Chicago. The central Wisconsin airport is just 40 minutes away. Marshfield is also known for its diverse metal industry, which includes custom manufacturing of metal parts and components. This is ideal for precision manufacturing, automotive parts, and aerospace components businesses. Combined with the strong logistical infrastructure in the area, these sectors benefit from Marshfield's position as a transportation hub. The availability of skilled labor in metal fabrication and logistics provides an ideal foundation for growth.
From Marshfield, we serve aerospace, defense, energy, industrial equipment, medical, so pretty wide variety of industries that we serve. One of the few customers that we get to be public with is a company called Strata Launch that we do work for. And so they do hypersonic testing, and they have actually the world's largest airplane, which is a pretty neat customer to be servicing from here.
With easy access to Marshfield's amenities, a highly educated workforce, and a vibrant local economy, Yellowstone Industrial Park is the ideal place to grow. We have top-notch K-12 schools, along with secondary education systems, with opportunities to earn a 2-year or 4-year degree in many industry-leading careers. Right here in Marshfield, Weinbrenner Shoe Company, with 125-plus years of quality job-fitted footwear, is building a multi-million-dollar facility expected to be completed in 2026.
And this is an investment in Made in USA. It's an investment in our workforce, and it's an investment in our future. This is truly an exciting day for all the men and women for Weinbrenner Shoe Company.
Imagine your business here, in a site tailored to your needs. Whether starting fresh or expanding operations, this development-ready site is your launchpad to success. With sites nearby, such as a Fortune 500 company, Packaging Corporation of America, PCA, Weinbrenner Shoe Company with 125-plus years of quality job-fitted footwear, and an accredited clinical DNA testing laboratory known as Prevention Genetics, part of Exact Science. Just up the road is a health industry leader, Marshfield Clinic Health System. A region of Sanford Health is an integrated health system whose mission is to enrich lives through accessible, affordable, compassionate health care. With more than 12,000 employees in 60 clinics, 11 hospitals, a research facility, and more. Marshfield is located in the state's center, with easy commutes for the 300,000-plus population in our Centergy region. Along with a vibrant and historic downtown, there is excellent shopping and restaurants throughout the city. There is plenty of fun for everyone, including a 100-acre park and zoo, plus a state-of-the-art aquatic center. Yellowstone Industrial Park, where opportunity meets preparation. Let's build the future together.
All right, so that's that video. We're gonna work with Tom to get a shorter one just for a little bit more of marketing purposes. But I also want to thank Alexis Sonneman with the city. She created all the maps that I used. So if there's any questions.
Thank you, Sierra.
Right,
Thank you for that
thank
great
you.
presentation. Item O, request to approve budget resolution number 15-2025, increasing the public safety fund parks and recreation donations from private organizations account by $2,800 and increasing the public safety fund parks and recreation other contractual services account by the same amount of expenditures related to the donations received. This will cover the cost of providing 2 portable toilets for use at UWSP Marshfield Fields and Forest Ridge Park, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Good evening. Well, Lois pretty much summed up the point of the budget resolution. What the resolution will actually do is authorize the expenditures that will match the revenue that we have received. So with that, I would ask for Common Council approval of Budget Resolution 15-2025 in the amount of $2,800.
We have a motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman Curran. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank
Item P, request to approve budget resolution number 16.2025, increasing the city administrator's professional services account up to $30,000 for recruitment services and decreasing the city administrator's reserve for contingency amount by the same amount, presented by Steve Barg, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, at the last Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee meeting, our Human Resources Director, Sarah Dressel, did an outstanding presentation. Had been requested to look at some of the vacant positions we have and what we're doing to try and fill them. And there are a number of them, and I think those of you who've been around for a little while know that in some cases it's been a couple of years or more since anybody's been in those positions. One of those is senior planner, and the presentation pretty much identified, and staff is very supportive of this, that senior planner is probably the most important position we have right now as far as filling. That doesn't mean that all the positions aren't important, but right now we really have no planning staff really in the Development Services Department because we don't have a director or a senior planner, making that critical. We also pay a firm, SEH, Bryce Hembrook is our representative, an offsetting amount of money. So if we could find a way to fill that position, it would certainly be good for us in the long term by having someone here 40 hours a week to do long-term planning and also handle the plan commission and other duties. So anyway, we're looking at whether or not we'd be able to look at a new way of doing this. We've tried a lot of different things. We've tried posting in all sorts of places, but the idea of having a consulting firm help us to try and find a senior planner was discussed. And one idea that came up was a contingency-based recruitment firm. What that means is we would actually pay only when we hire somebody, we pay 20 or 25% of the first year's salary to the recruitment firm for that person to come here. One of the things these kind of firms do is they look at both active and passive job seekers. And the question of what's a passive job seeker is a good one. It's someone who might be interested in coming, but is not actively responding to LinkedIn or all the other opportunities that they might have to try and connect with firms in job applications. But when they're contacted by the recruiting firm, they say, yeah, I'd be interested if it's the right fit. Let's talk about it. Like that's actually how we were able to get Sarah a couple of years back. So it's a good model for us, I think. The Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee was very supportive of this, and they looked at allocating money for this purpose. We don't have anything budgeted for 2025. We have saved money, obviously, in this and other positions by not having them filled, which is not on purpose, but that's the way it's gone down. Anyway, the request is to transfer $30,000, up to $30,000 from contingency to the professional service budget of the City Administrators Fund to cover the cost that might be associated with the recruitment and also a certain amount of money for relocation allowance for the successful individual. So for that in mind, staff would recommend approval of Budget Resolution 16-2025, transferring up to $30,000 to make possible the recruitment firm for the senior planner position.
Of a motion by Alderman Curran, second by Alderman Dallas. Alderman Tompkins.
Sarah, can I ask you a question? Two questions. One, I love the contingency theory. That's great. Is there going to be any type of warranty? I don't know if that's the right word, but if they come and within the first 3 months decide it's not a good fit and leave, do they have anything like that?
So there's two companies that I talked to just to kind of get a rough idea of like what they were charging for the initial fee. And part of what we talked about was what happens if we're, 3 weeks in or a month in and they decide to leave. There are some guarantees that will be built into that contract. There's tons of options. So sometimes it can be we're paying that fee not all in a lump sum. We're paying it over, let's say, 13 or 14 weeks. In that time, if they only make 4 weeks and then leave, we don't pay any more. Sometimes it's a 1-year guarantee after that. If they leave, they will just do a whole nother campaign. Sometimes it's a slight refund. It kind of just depends. So with any of the contracts, what I would obviously do is partner with the city attorney just to make sure that it's solid and in our best interest, and really look at maybe what might be the best option for us. But definitely something in the form of some sort of guarantee or refund.
And then, thank you. And then just one more. would it be more cost effective to work for two positions, like the public works director or an engineer, or is that detrimental because then it looks like we have too many openings?
So with the Public Works Director position or the Community Development Director position, with those level of positions, typically they won't work on contingency because it does take a massive amount of resources on their end. So they would be looking for some sort of a retainer upfront. As far as civil engineer goes, I definitely think it would be great to start that, considering June is when the budget says we can hire. With that, it would basically be the same fee structure. They would just be looking for two positions. They are similar in sort of and definitely sort of not. So I think, would it hurt us to have both positions open? No. I think that is doable. Whether or not we can fund it or have the resources would just be a further discussion. But I don't think it would be harmful to have both.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Item Q, request to approve budget resolution number 17-2025, amending the 2025 budget related to the Brain Park Wet Detention Basin Project, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Okay, so we are back talking about the Brain Park Wet Detention Basin. This is a project that was just beginning towards the 2024 budget cycle, so we didn't really have enough information at the time to cover what's actually happening in 2025. So this estimate for the budget resolution is anticipating some change orders coming with our design firm. It also includes a geotechnical services contract, which is news in 2025, and then staff resources allocating to the project. So at this time, we think the best estimate of this project is going to be just over $126,000, and we've got 108 in the budget right now, leaving us a shortfall of about $18,000. This budget resolution does take money from the city administrator's contingency account being funded by fund balance. Last year, the engineering department did realize a savings or cost avoidance of about the same amount. So this amount is in our fund balance, which gives me the opportunity to say, let's use it for this purpose. So with that, I would recommend approval of Budget Resolution 17-2025 for an up to amount of $18,000, transferring from the contingency account to the Brain Park Wet Detention Basin project.
We have a motion by Alderman Dellis, second by Alderman Tompkins. Alderman Tompkins.
I have a question for Josh. Whenever any of the stormwater and the storm drainage basins and all these projects come up, it always makes me think, have we started with looking into or pursuing a stormwater utility? So I can't remember, did we ever apply for a grant for that?
We hired Strand to apply for a grant to do a feasibility study for stormwater financing. Yes.
Great, thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Item R, request to ratification of the contract and payment for the credit card reader for the Marshfield Municipal Airport, for which funds were transferred and payment approved by Budget Resolution number 07-2020 on November 24th, 2020, presented by Jeff Geyer, Airport Manager. You want to push the microphone, Jeff? Thank you.
Sorry.
That's right.
In 2020, the airport received notice that the QT Pod M3000 credit card reader was out of service and that there were no longer any support being offered by QT Pod. They suggested we upgrade to the M4000 unit. At that time, we had requested to the State Bureau of Aeronautics if there would be any financial assistance to help us with that, as the state helped us install the fuel system at the Marshfield Airport. They agreed that they would help us, but we would first have to go ahead, purchase the unit, install it, and then seek reimbursement through them. That is what the city did. It was approved by the airport committee, approved by the council, and a budget resolution was made, and it went ahead. Now, there has been changes down at the State Bureau of Aeronautics. They are under the Department of Infrastructure Management oversight now. And so there's a lot of fires being lit under everybody down there to get things done that have been put off. And this is one of those things. The state has sent us paperwork asking us if we would sign a letter requesting that procedure was followed. And in following it, one mistake that was made was I signed the contracts for the purchase of this. So we have gone through some hoops, and the city attorney suggests that this be ratified by the common council. That procedure was followed. It went through the airport committee on April 24th, and they agreed to it. And so now it is here in front of the council asking for ratification so that we can send a letter to the State Bureau of Aeronautics and request financial reimbursement, or at least a partial financial reimbursement for this project.
I have a motion by Alderman Coran, second by Alderman Varsho. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item S, request to approve engineering services contract between WIS DOT, City of Marshfield, and MSA for design of the Vine Avenue, 2nd Street to 4th Street, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Director of Public Works.
Hi, thank you. So the next two items on the agenda are actually kind of similar in the fact that we have 4 upcoming Wisconsin DOT funded street reconstruction projects coming up. These 2 items are things I would normally bring to the Board of Public Works initially. However, WISDOT has a signature deadline for their fiscal year of May 25th. So that's why I'm bringing them to you tonight. The first item is approval of an engineering services contract called a 3-party contract between WISDOT, a consultant, and the city. So last fall, we did a RFP to solicit engineering services for the design phase of Vine Avenue, 2nd Street to 4th Street project. The city ranked their top 3 firms and presented their rankings to WISDOT, who then began negotiations with our preferred firm. So they were able to negotiate an agreement with MSA Professional Services for the design of this. And so this agreement is to enter into agreement between the consultant, MSA, and the city. The total cost for engineering services is not to exceed $228,434. These projects, 3 of them that are in our pipeline, are funded 80% by WISDOT. So the 20% local share of this design is a little under $46,000. The total project cost estimate for design and construction is $1,573,200. And again, with the local share being 20% of $242,640. Construction's planned for 2028. And again, just to help meet their fiscal year signing deadlines, I'm asking for approval of this contract between WISDOT, City of Marshfield, and MSA for design engineering services for Vine Avenue from 2nd Street to 4th Street project, and authorize execution of the same.
We have a motion by Alderman Fire, second by Alderman Tompkins. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Item 2, request to approve amendment number 1 to the engineering service contract between the City of Marshfield, WISDOT, and MSA for the design of South Vine Avenue from East 4th Street to East 14th Street, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Public Works Director.
So much like the last item, this is same company, MSA, different segment. Back in February, the council approved a similar three-party agreement for MSA's design of Vine from 4th to 14th Street. Since then, in fact, just this week, they had sent out an amendment to that contract to cover some additional historic and archaeological surveys that need to be performed for this project that weren't anticipated initially. The amendment will increase the contract's total cost by just under $10,000. And again, the city's share is 20% of that for $1,980. So again, just asking for approval of amendment number 1.
Motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Dellis. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Item U, request to refer amending the official city map to extend the public right-of-way to East 22nd Street to the east of the intersection of South Nikolai Avenue and East 22nd Street to the Plan Commission for consideration, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, during the past decade, there have been some certified survey maps, or as we often call them, CSMs, that have been approved that require reservation of certain property on the CSM for possible future roadways. To the east of the intersection of South Nikolai Avenue and East 22nd Street, there's a 30-foot strip roughly owned by the city that's been reserved for a future roadway, but the official city map was not updated. Like I said, these are reserved for future roadways, but the official city map has not been updated to show that. There's a potential that a certified survey map will be submitted, and city staff are recommending to reserve an additional 30 feet. So put the 30 feet together that we have as a reserve for future roadway with a 30 additional feet in order to create a 60-foot right-of-way that would be needed to meet the right-of-way width requirements. So in order to require the dedication, we need the official city map to be amended first, including the full 60 feet and showing what we call the vision triangle to protect safety. So extending the road requires future access to the property to the east, which we expect ultimately to be used for industrial use, for industrial properties. This is an introduction to this item tonight. The next step would be to have the Plan Commission review the item and consider the proposal, and then make a recommendation to the council and schedule a public hearing for a future meeting of the Plan Commission. So the request for tonight is simply to refer amending the official city map to extend the public right-of-way on East 22nd to the east of the intersection of South Nikolai Avenue and East 22nd Street to the Plan Commission for review and consideration.
We have a motion by Alderman Fire, second by Alderman Varsho. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Request for Council President Varsho to move Board of Public Works meetings to first and third Tuesdays on the same night as Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I was gone at the last meeting on vacation, but under items for future agendas, Council President Varsho brought up the idea of possibly moving Board of Public Works meetings to the same night as Finance, Budget, and Personnel. And that is, of course, on Tuesdays. So if the council wants to make this change, I propose the following schedule, which might be slightly different than Council President Varsho indicated as far as times, but what we're looking at is how to make best use of the time for what the expected length of these meetings might be. So I'm showing right now, for at least your review and consideration, if you want to go this route, that JL, or Judiciary and License Committee, at 5 o'clock, because oftentimes the meetings are fairly short unless there's a hearing of some type. 5:15 for the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee, 6:15 for the Board of Public Works, and then 7 o'clock on what would be the third Tuesday, so every other meeting basically, for the Plan Commission. We could tweak those as necessary if we know that a certain meeting of the JL Committee or the Board of Public Works is expected to be longer. We can maybe alter the times a little bit to make it possible. But if you look at the times we're indicating right now, if you look at the recent times, how long these meetings have lasted, probably pretty close to what we can expect on a typical Tuesday night. So this is for the discretion of the council, put out there for your consideration, and I turn it back to you, Mayor.
We have a motion by Alderman Varsho, second by Alderman Tompkins. Any questions, comments? Pardon me? Alderman Varsho, would you please read us the motion?
The motion is to move finance budget personnel meetings to every other Tuesday night, with JL starting at 5, finance budget and personnel at 5:15, Board of Public Works at 6:15, and Plan Commission at 7. Did I say that right, or did I say finance budget?
Actually, you said that every other week, and it says first and third Tuesdays, just
First
to
and
make sure.
third,
Yes.
first and third
Thank you.
Tuesday of
Yeah.
the month. Moving the Public Works to Tuesday, not Monday nights. My
So what
apologies.
it means here,
You
correct?
got it.
Yes.
You got it.
My apologies.
No problem.
You're right on.
Sit up here for an hour, you'll understand. Yes, okay. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote to make this historic change.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you.
And just to note, that will take effect with next week's meetings then. Thank you very much.
Item W, request to approve appointment of Ashley Winch, Marshfield Community Development Authority, to replace former Councilman Russ Stauber on the Housing Committee, presented by me. And actually, Ashley is going to be representing the CDA along with Mike Fire. When we first did this Housing Committee, we wanted 2 people from CDA, so that would be Ashley Winch and Mike Fire. We wanted 2 council members, and Natasha Tompkins was a CDA, but now she has agreed to be a council member along with Rebecca Spiros. And then Steve Barg will be our secretary, and myself will be the other person on the Housing Committee. So we're looking for a motion by Alderman O'Reilly, and second by Alderman Varsho. And Alderman O'Reilly, would you just give us just a little bit of a motion? You can just say whatever is read here, and that would be just fine, I think.
Yes, the motion is to approve with the correction that you had mentioned.
Thank you. And Alderman Varsho, you agree? Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes, and thank you again, Ashley, for stepping up. Item X, staff updates, City Finance, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Finance folder. From here? Okay. Ang and I are sharing navigation duties.
You're hired.
Maybe my file did not get updated. I'm going to steal my own thunder. All right, we'll just go to the top here and we'll start with, now that we are most of the way through our audit and have received a preliminary draft of our audit report from our auditors, I wanted to share with you a little bit about where we will see our results for the year ended December 31st of 2024. So what you're looking at here is our revised budget and our actual results, and I've excluded the amount of our flexibility building contingency to present a more clear picture of really where we ended the year. you'll see that our revenue is approximately $450,000 favorable to budget, and our expenses are $1.3 million favorable to budget. So what we're going to see is an increase in our fund balance of just under $1.8 million for the year ended 2024. If we'll pull this open just a little bit, we'll go into some of the details of our revenue favorability as compared to budget. And what we're going to see in terms of taxes is that our pilot from Marshfield Utilities came in $207,000 more than we anticipated. And that was due to not having all the information available. Our school district had a referendum that was kind of really interfering with the timing of our budget. So we went with our conservative number. For that. We're also going to see, or we saw in 2024, a $31,000 increase on our mobile home taxes. This is a one-time item. As I've noted in blue, for 2025, we're going to revert back to our previous year's history, somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000 for that. And then we had a chargeback where we had an appeal for unlawful taxes, and we're able to charge back the other taxing jurisdictions for their share. We reimburse right away, charge them back. We did have a little bit, $100,000 worth of unfavorability under our special assessments. Part of this is due to interest being recorded down in miscellaneous revenue of just about $40,000, and then the rest being here. This is kind of a hard one to judge, as we have our special assessments for the year. We collect payments and we don't always know or are able to predict how many people will pay versus turn it over to the tax roll. Other items to note would be our public service fees. An unfavorability of $279,000, and that's the street lighting initiative that failed to pass, as well as an overestimation of fire protection fees making up that variance. The highlight of the revenue is going to come from miscellaneous revenue, where we had $371,000 favorable in interest, and we intentionally budget this line item conservatively. We don't know what's happening in the financial world enough to just budget a running rate. We budgeted probably about half of what we actually received. We did have some insurance recoveries. Those are most likely related to corresponding expenditures to repair or replace whatever was damaged. We received a reimbursement of a retainer with a legal firm. And then we always get a league dividend, but it's an unpredictable amount, so we generally don't budget for that one as well. And then in our other financing sources, we have $832,000 worth of favorability. You'll notice part of that, that's where we budget our flexibility contingency there. We also had this year a TID closure, which is a rare event for us. Our share of the residual of that was about $300,000. And then our dividend from our utility came in higher than we anticipated. The thing to note about our revenue is that most of this favorability is coming from one-time things. And one-time things are inconsistent, unpredictable, and often non-recurring. So we want to be careful when we're choosing how we budget for these kinds of revenues. If we were to take a look at the expense favorabilities, what we'll see here is the $1.3 million. Most of that favorability is coming in terms of wages and benefits. For our PEP plan, we budget for the possibility of all payouts because we don't know when they will actually happen. We set aside that money in a committed reserve, so it doesn't come from our annual operating revenues. Vacancies, salaries and related benefits are just shy of $400,000. And then streets does work for outside departments that we can't charge directly to those departments, so it's done through a billing that reduces that expense account. Contractual services, we had favorability mostly in heat and electric with our mild winter. And then in supplies and expense, we did show some favorability with reduced or avoided spending for snow and ice and stormwater maintenance. And then we have some favorability in IT, which we actually carry forward to use for future modules of our enterprise business software solutions. And then lastly, our other financing uses, we had some favorability as a result of 2 vacant firefighters that weren't hired. So we avoided transferring $49,000 to the EMS fund. And then there was a transfer to the Economic Development Fund of that dividend. We've kind of flip-flopped on where we've actually recorded that revenue. This year we recorded it in the general fund, but decided that it really belongs in the Economic Development Fund. Again, the note there is most of these this expense favorability is coming from a cost avoidance, not necessarily saving a few bucks on an existing service or contract. So what that does to our fund balance in total is that we'll focus on this $7.9 million number. That is the amount that's unassigned and can be spent for nearly any purpose. We do have a fund balance policy that says we are to maintain between 25 and 30% of our budgeted expenditures. So this number is the number that we focus on. And you'll see in 2023, for comparability, we were at 24% of that number. And then for 2024, we're at 30%. Now, that also includes that kind of base building flexibility in our budget of contingency. So if we were to look at that without contingency, we're looking at 34% above our kind of high target of our policy, which would mean that our required reserve at 30% is 7.5. So what that translates to is we can now allocate some of that excess in a future budget cycle. And there are some ways we can do that. If we fast forward, we're almost halfway through 2025. Based on our budget and our requirement that we'll need at the end of 2025, we'll need just over $7.7 million. So we are looking to increase $205,000 just to stay in compliance at that 30% level with our own policy. So where might we consider? This is some things for you to think about as we look forward to the 2026 budget. In 2024, we had about $382,000 of staff vacancies that weren't in the 2024 budget. In the 2025 budget. So if we were to bring those back, the cost of those is about $380,000. So that would be something to think about. We do have a citywide revaluation that we will likely need in the next 1 to 2 years. Fast forwarding our cost in 2023 of about $145,000. We can expect to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $165,000. So the thought there would be we could set aside money, a portion of that excess for this purpose that we know is coming in 2, maybe 3 years, rather than trying to scramble to find $165,000 of current operating revenue to pay for that. We've heard from Human Resource Director Sarah about recruiting services, we could allocate some of that money towards recruiting. And then, you know, there were other things that we cut out of the last couple of years worth of budget services or temporary staff. You could fill in the blank for whatever we might need. We could maintain our current services. We all know that inflation will be hitting us in 2026. You know, revenue doesn't always keep up with the increase in costs, so we could plan to use some of that just to maintain what we have today. And then lastly, you know, if we looked back at this little gray section, you could be ultra conservative and save a portion of that in case we didn't meet our goals in 2025. So just food for thought. I'm not looking for any directions here tonight, but we will be beginning our budget conversations shortly. So I did want to give you a heads up on at least where we ended the past year. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Alderman Tompkins?
Thank you. Mike, you just made us sound like, oh no. So from the utility, we do cash on hand, and it's like their goal that they have not reached yet is 300 days cash on hand. So if we look at our 25 to 30% cash goal, does that translate into days cash on hand at all?
Not necessarily. The utility might have a more level revenue and expenditure experience. We can vary in our revenue and expenditures from $1 million, you know, expense-wise, $1 million to $3 million, depending on what we're doing. Our big revenue months are January, February, where we recognize our tax revenue. We get some state aid in July and again in November. So we have to sort of, when we're thinking about cash, kind of build up a cash stash and then live on it when we are only collecting fees or fines during those leaner revenue months.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Jennifer? Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Item Y, suggested items for further agendas. Seeing none, we'll adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin Statute Chapter 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Development assistance for project at West McMillan Street and St. Joe's Avenue, and adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin Chapter 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employer over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, collective bargaining agreement with fire union. We have a motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Dellis. Please vote to go into closed session.
Mrs. Spiros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye. We are in closed session. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Open session was Rebecca, and
I think, yeah,
second,
Rebecca with Brian was the second,
Brian was the second to go to open session.
but you're right, and we.
And then we all
rolled
agreed.
it
No,
out.
no big deal, Sarah, we got it.
Oh, it's a
Okay,
big deal,
okay.
Sarah.
Yep, yeah.
And I knew that.
It was bad before you
Yeah.
walked up there. Yes, yep. And then we all voted to go back in open session.
But we have to roll call, we have to
We have
voice
to
vote.
roll.
We can't
Okay,
just do it.
yeah, yeah.
We did voice vote.
No, we
Well,
did voice
but
vote.
okay,
We didn't do
okay.
one.
Alderman Fire?
Yeah, I know.
Alderman Fire?
The board's on.
Okay, so you said voice vote? What did we say?
The board is
No,
on.
no,
We have to roll call. You
the
have to
roll call.
individually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So please vote to go back into open session. Boy, oh boy,
Mrs.
this is fun,
Speros?
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly? We are back in open session. Yes, okay, and we are back in open session. And we are item BB, action on matters discussed in closed session if appropriate. Motion by Alderman Varsho, and Alderman Varsho, what is your motion?
I'm going to make a motion to accept the ratification of the contracts with the fire union and move forward.
And Alderman Dellis, you second that? Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mrs. Speros? Yes. Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Who would like to vote to adjourn? Alderman Tompkins and Alderman Coran. Please vote to adjourn.
Mrs. Speros?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Yes.
We are adjourned. And Alderman O'Reilly says no.